Let me get these quick $200. Oh no, my gun's clean. Shit. Give him the captain. I'm gonna take the Evans this time. My Evans clean. And I'm gonna take my shotgun. I'm gonna take my shotgun with me. I ain't. I'm gonna take this instead. I'd be dirty than the motherfucker. Do I need anything? Let me see if I need anything. Go over here and see if I got all my dynamite and stuff.
You're back. Go on, have yourself a quick nosy.
Let's see what I got. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Good choice.
I might need some moonshine and some gun oil.
Works as rat poison too.
No, I need a lot of this shit.
All yours.
Alright, let me check everything. Make sure everything funky. What I got over here? Okay. Alright, let's go put in this work. I'm finna go get that quick money right quick. Hope it don't be raining and shit. Slide on in there. Alright, that's what I'm talking about, dog. Who we gonna run down on? Let's go legendary. Let's go Yukon Nick. My favorite one. Let's see what I got.
Where this one is going. Now, recently you've had a ruling from a judge out of Texas that has attacked a federal agency. Now, this federal agency is called the Minority Business Development Agency. It was created in the 1970s under the Nixon administration, believe it or not, and their purpose is supposed to be to help non-white groups get business funding, which of course they're not able to get because of racial discrimination. So because of all of these whites-only policies, all of these whites-only girl-boy networks, the federal government decided to step in. At least that was the idea on paper. Now, this agency has been around for over a half-century now. There's nothing new about it. It's not as if nobody knew about it. But what you have going on, of course, is the white rights would-be anti-black culture war, and this happens to be part of it. They're trying to attack private organizations who happen to give money to black groups, or if you have federal government organizations who do the same thing. Now, in holistic terms, this is basically a bunch of mega millionaires and billionaires who are using their money to fund these nuisance suits. And this is supposed to be nothing more than a feel-good exercise for them, because that's the entire point. But before we go any further, let's get one thing straight. The so-called Minority Business Development Agency doesn't just cater to minorities.
All right.
Did you know that? It also accepts applications from
Let's put in this work.
white applicants too. Now, white people are not minorities. In fact, this organization was created specifically because white people in America are the only ones, by and large, who can get their hands on any sort of business development money. And keep in mind, it was white businessmen who filed this lawsuit, and even wealthier white businessmen who are the ones behind all of these flurry of nuisance suits. So when you start talking about people being competitive in business, who do you think doesn't like that? The judge himself in this case admits that he knows full well that this agency has also catered to and given money to white applicants, but he says he wants it to serve people regardless of race, even though the agency is already doing exactly that. And just to show that this guy is clearly part of the white right agenda, he doesn't even bother to try to vary up the talking points. He claims the same thing that you've had the rest of these guys doing, saying that, well, the Constitution's Fifth Amendment equal protection guarantee means that this organization shouldn't exist because it presumes
I'm about to go kill the whole planet. And you talking about some space. Right on. Say something else, I'm gonna kill you.
Minorities are not disadvantaged. He doesn't show that there's no opportunity gaps between whites and non-whites. He doesn't do that at all. Instead, he says something Fifth Amendment. Something inherently disadvantaged. Yes, sounds just like Ron DeSantis and the clowns down in Florida, doesn't it? That's how you know that these guys are all operating out of the same playbook. This is not just happenstance.
All right, Blakey. We finna put in this work, Blakey. You ready? Let me make sure all my guns on the right bullets. Express. One more shells. On here with that bang bang. Damn, I ain't clean that. Damn. I got any other guns clean?
That means that they're not scared that the voters are going to put them out, and by and large, they're not scared of being punished either. That's a problem.
Okay, I got a shotgun. Okay.
In one breath, he says that white applicants have to prove they're not advantaged. When he, of course, conveniently leaves out is that even the non-white applicants also have to prove that they need the money. See, that agency doesn't just hand out money or help to any and everyone. In fact, where black people are concerned, it's not doing that much to begin with. More on that in a moment. Now, the judge basically said, I'm white, and I say so. He doesn't demonstrate that minorities are no more disadvantaged than whites. He doesn't say anything about that at all. His ruling is just verbal diarrhea.
Make a new approach.
Like a Stormfront or
Oh, make a new approach, dog.
Quotes like, two wrongs don't make a right, and the
MBTA
presumption is a wrong, and that the agency's been using the unconstitutional presumption
and with that bang bang. Yeah. Catch him back here.
Does that sound like a judge explaining his ruling, or like some soft right-wing nut auditioning for a second?
Warm their ass up. Y'all got me fucked up. Move right here. Go on the other side, dog. Yeah, get down. Now catch this out. Get on that line. You get my line of fire. Oh, I'm gonna headshot your ass. Headshot. Lay down, ho. Okay. Let's get up out of here. Get up out and somewhere. Alright. Alright. Catch him in front. Catch him. Headshot. Headshot. Okay. Oh man, glad that wood got in front of you.
Though the government did go out of its way to specify that these banks need to make an effort to do business with non-English speakers, specifically those who speak Spanish and professional partners separate. So since redlining really hadn't gone away, you had federal regulators who made it clear that these banks are going to be required to do business with non-white people.
I'm gonna put that pump on their ass. Put that pump on their ass. Put that pump on their ass, dog.
Overstepping their bounds by telling us that we can't discriminate.
Come here, Cujo. Bring your little ass out here. Bring your ass out here. A motherfucking nigga killing dog. Yeah, I want you to bite me. I want to feel your teeth. Now shut your ass up.
See, that's what they do when they tell their lies by omission. The judge didn't explain how the banks and such were doing right by black.
Put your ass down. Push back. Catch him. Wham!
Advantaged.
Right in the kisser.
That's lying by omission. He doesn't explain to you what it is that the banks are
Let's go put in this work.
doing. He just pretends like none of that's happening. All that matters is what the federal government's doing.
You got one
The
outside.
government was making a response to the white
Ease on
supremacist
in.
discrimination and racism going on in society. And we still see it today. Here you have these white
Get your ass up,
organizations
ho.
fighting for their right to racially discriminate. Whereas Ed Blum Act, well, that's right, Ed Blum works for the very millionaires and billionaires who are sitting there suing the
motherfucker.
government, who are saying we want to make sure that we can continue to discriminate.
I ain't getting the better help me today.
Just like that little inbreed
Alright.
down in Texas.
I know how to get away from that fire.
When you think about it, it's actually constitutional. Yeah. Or better yet,
Turn it back around.
silent because
Let's
this
go get
is
him.
the status quo they want. That's what all the
I didn't think I was gone. I didn't think y'all had me.
there was any sort of effort to try to erase his face to balance the scales. And this is all about trying to get back against that, to impede that, to stymie that, to outlaw. That's what they were trying to get to. This is what they're trying to support. This judge doesn't say anything about that, does he?
Bring your ass here.
Try to actually defend what he says.
I'm
He
not
just
yet.
gives some verbal vomit and then moves on. But this clown is a Trump
Too much dynamite over there.
team reflects leadership. This goofball wasn't throwing the bitch because he knows the law. Obviously, he doesn't. And he has nothing but contempt for the Constitution. He's on the bench because the white right
Where you going?
embarked on this project to take over the federal judiciary as their last ditch. They did this as their plan to attack the few seeming reforms in regards to what's going to take place in America. See, the white right knew that they couldn't win at the ballot box or in the state legislatures. So trying to use right-wing extremists on the bench to legislate the courtroom.
I'm shooting downhill.
Now, this ruling
All
in
right.
practical terms doesn't mean an enormous amount because the agency already gives money to white applicants as it is. And the judge on this case acknowledged that. But as the white
Some money.
these lawsuits are not about
Oh, yeah.
what they seem to be about on the surface. They're part of a larger overarching
Yeah, some
mission of the
antiques,
white
huh?
right to blatantly, openly legalize anti-black discrimination. That's what this is actually
Oh,
That's what
I'm
they
gonna
use
die?
the phrase, all
Okay.
of these non-white
I got something for you.
They're not disadvantaged at all.
Bad
Nobody's
man.
disadvantaging them, and there's nobody. You can't say that you're disadvantaged to oppress.
Should I hit her with the...
That's the point.
I stab. I'm gonna stab the shit out of his ass.
Rulings like that, that
Bring your
apparently
ass here, bitch.
no one can
I'm
say
stabbing the
that
shit out your
except
control yourself. You can
white
stab,
supremacy
motherfucker.
taking both sides of the conversation.
Motherfucker.
This lawsuit is one of the asinine anti-black cultural forces that these white lunatics have been pushing.
Now let's see if you got some money.
All
Alright.
right. This is the result of
See if you
wealthy
got
white
some.
conservatives who are mega millionaires and billionaires, and they use their billions to invent these phony sock puppet groups who put out these lawsuits. This is how you get Christopher Rufo. He works for the Manhattan Institute, or Ed Blum, who's affiliated with a number of right-wing think tanks. And in this latest case of AstroTurf litigation, it's the result of a right-wing group out of Wisconsin calling itself the Institute for Law and Liberty. These guys have quite the sense of humor, don't they? They claim in the names of their little groups that they're about law when they're actually about ignoring the law. They're about liberty when they're actually about fascism and imprisoning people. These guys are all about
Oh, really?
society, not freeing it. Now, normally these little right-wing sock puppet groups, they're not
Oh, me?
actually this far.
You call Wawa?
But you had a
I know you ain't call little Wawa.
Citizens United. These right billionaires,
I
these
know.
oligarchs. These guys figured
Call
out decades ago
me.
that simply throwing millions of dollars at these politicians wasn't going to be sufficient to bring about the kind of societal changes that they wanted. They were going to have to actually take a hands-on approach and do this one personally. Now, these public policy institutes, normally what they do is they just manufacture so-called reports and documents that are nothing more than thinly
I don't know what I should do.
their putrid
Should I hit
They usually
you
don't go this far, but
or hit
the rich
you?
white ideologues who
Or
fund these
should I put my
organizations,
gun
they don't
down
have to come
and
out
let
and
him hit you?
expose themselves because
I
they're
let him hit
targets
you.
for
You tried to arrest me and my posse.
And on top of that, it's been the voters themselves who have been handing these
I'm
guys so
coming.
many L's. That's what
I'm
this war is
coming.
actually against. For the
I
longest
like
time,
to
the
see
white
you
right in
suffer
particular
too.
has griped that they simply can't
All
get their
right.
way at the ballot box. Statewide referendums have become the bane
I
of the
know.
GOP's existence, and I don't just mean the recent abortion state ballot initiative.
If it ain't,
In
If it ain't
Michigan, years
Mr.
ago,
Bomb
when the
talking
illegal
junk.
unconstitutional city manager scheme was first passed by the
Ain't
GOP-controlled
it?
legislature in that state, the voters of Michigan organized a ballot referendum in which they overthrew this would-be city manager scheme, which everyone recognized as a city takeover scheme. But the GOP-controlled legislature came back immediately afterwards, and they passed the same law, or rather laws.
So I'll be back
They took the
to
exact
get
same
you.
idea, broke it up into pieces,
You
and
part
passed
of.
them individually to do the
This
exact
ain't the
same
one I
thing.
want to get.
And
Oh,
the
this ain't the
Obama
one though.
administration did nothing about it. Also in
I
Florida,
thought I can
voters
get some
there
money
passed a
off
state
them.
referendum removing the
I
Jim
ain't
Crow
leaving
policy
until I
of
killed
preventing
everybody.
people who had been incarcerated from felonies from voting. This was in blood-red Florida where this successfully happened. And the Republican-controlled legislature in Florida was furious with this development because their own Republican voters helped to pass a law that would make it harder for those very same Republicans to get into elected office. It would make it harder for them to maintain their artificial grip on power in that state. Of course, it was then DeSantis who in his first term introduced the scam of requiring that anyone who was reapplying for voter registration in Florida couldn't do so without paying all the state fees associated with their incarceration. So in these blood-red states, the Republicans keep getting their teeth kicked in, and by their own voters in many cases. And this is why
Shut
they
your
went
ass up.
jihad to get federal judgeships, and of course to make sure that they put the youngest legal hacks that they can on the bench. That's what they've been trying to do. But there's also another aspect of this case
Now
that
it's
needs to be
time,
spoken
dog.
about. Now,
Give
this
him a little of that
organization claims to be
fine
all about
desire.
minority business development. And black people
Okay.
certainly are the object here.
Let's
We're
go put
certainly
in
the
this work.
targets here.
They think we
When it comes to
running.
how this organization
Oh.
operates,
No!
you see, in 2022, this agency said it helped to raise more than
Man, I'm doing a lot of shots.
for black-owned businesses. But that was only a drop in the
Oh.
bucket compared to the over $395 million that it raised for
We ain't leaving.
Hispanic-owned businesses.
We
Now,
ain't
for
leaving
that
this motherfucker.
although the number of black and Hispanic residents in the U.S. is about the same, the federal
Bitch,
government,
die.
however, helped to raise 8 times as much money for
I ain't
Hispanic
leaving.
businesses as for black ones.
I'm leaving.
Just keep in mind, there is a case to be made against racial discrimination, but it doesn't discriminate against white people.
I'm not leaving this
So, as we saw with
motherfucker.
affirmative action, here you had yet another organization,
Go.
in this case, a
Let's go.
federal agency, make sure that, we're going to be helping out-of-pocket non-white people. Black people are going to be at the very end of it. They'll get
That's
the
up,
crumbs
boy.
that are left over. We got to prioritize everyone else. The entire reason that these organizations and agencies exist is specifically because of the racism
Go right
that
down, ho.
black people face. Black people are the ones who face red light. Black people are the ones
Go right
who
down,
have
ho.
these bank managers and all of these executives
This ain't no
of these
game.
lending institutions who
I'm
brag
serious.
they don't get
I'ma
laid
show
to
you
black
what
people. And
transfigured
they
is.
also make it a point that they're going to harm black people's communities and chance they targeting us with the infrastructure. Every time they build a new highway, every time they build a new roadway, they make sure to run it straight through a black neighborhood. And of course, Joe Biden, he decided there needed to be a massive infrastructure bill. Oh, by the way, when he made this organization permanent, that was part of the infrastructure bill. Kind of ironic, don't you think? But your so-called Minority Business Development Association
Alright, let's go, dog.
gives the lion's share of support and funding to anyone except for black people. That's what you need to understand about this. This is why Claude Anderson said, don't be running around calling yourself a minority. You need to say specifically black. Because when you don't, you decide that you're going to let yourself be put under the umbrella term of minority, this is what you get. It becomes the same old bait and switch. The same old scam. And even if you want to selectively overlook that, you still can't overlook the fact that this is not happening in a vacuum. This is happening actually with Democrat support. Things like the Fearless Fund are more targeted toward black business owners, and yes, I'm aware of the faux feminist leanings.
I'm aware of you trying to kill me,
certainly on that black
but I'm a
woman
motherfucker.
kick. And they push blatant gender division in the black community. But my point is, that for all of their faults, it doesn't change the fact that they're not a clumsy front for another one of all books. And they're not governmental either. And if you had people like Ed Blum targeting them with lawsuits claiming that the money they claim constitutes a contract. See, this is the white right trying to invent a flimsy legal pretense for a lawsuit. They know they don't actually have grounds for it, but the entire point is to intimidate people, scare people.
Let's go in there and bang their
All
ass.
these guys will gin up some nuisance suit against you.
Get up from right now. All that crunch. Shut your ass up. I want to hear your scream. Let your boys know I'm coming. What are you doing over there?
These guys
Let everybody know I'm
tax
coming.
breaks, tax cuts,
Shut your
loopholes,
ass
tax
up.
deferments,
What you doing?
to fund these
That
guys
funk
to
on your ass.
keep as much money
Oh
as possible,
no.
which they then weaponize
Nope.
against the black community. That's what these guys are
Oh.
actually doing. They
Yeah.
know that that's what these lawsuits are.
You gonna be riding the dynamite, huh?
Things are
It's dumb, huh? You put these bang bangs on you.
about the money the Freedom Fund gives that constitutes a contract to anyone. A contract is quid pro quo, something in return for something else. Fearless Fund's recipients aren't doing anything for Fearless Fund. They give them money simply because they're private, which is their property. They're a private entity, it's their money. Under Blum's asinine assertion, however, that's a contract. He also claims that a scholarship is a
I get you.
too. These
I
are
get you.
and the flimsy
I'm
pretenses
coming.
they're trying to use.
Yeah, the devil's backbone is on the way.
Is that these
The
people
devil's backbone is here. I got both of you hoes.
Society, these are the same organizations funded by the exact
Now
same
devil's backbone.
white ideologues who fund the Ed Blums and the Christopher Rufos, etc. This is about weaponizing lawsuits to
Gotcha.
that's what they hope to ultimately do.
Get down.
That's the goal they're trying to reach.
Yeah.
Now, normally people like Blum have been deemed vexatious opinions, which is what they are. But there's a program at work here, and both political parties are complicit. As we've seen nationwide, the white right's ability to win elections has gone from eroding to outright evaporating. We've also seen them put aside all pretense that they were anything other than white supremacists. They're lying huge, as Christopher Rufo himself admitted, and their plan was to install these far-right ideologues from the Federalist Society, which should be illegal in and of itself, because they're clearly a political group who has taken an oath to ignore the law in favor of their own personal racial biases. That's the definition of political high-handedness when you do that stuff. And it's unconstitutional, it's against the law. And any of these judges who are part of the Federalist Society or have ever had any sort of associations with them, they should be impeached and removed from office on that basis. The Democrats could do it.
Oh yeah.
And there would be very little risk that their own left-leaning judges would face any substantive widespread reprisals from the Republicans, because most of those left-leaning judges, they're not part of any sort of secret unconstitutional cabals. But the Democrats aren't going to do that because, as I've explained for 15 years now, the white left and the white right actually cooperate with each other, especially where
get this little trick home.
The Republicans do,
but just in case he go to running his mouth, I got something to bap him side his head.
As we saw with Joe Biden recently, you had that Supreme Court case dealing with police being sued for not
I knew he was gonna talk. You get slapped side your head. Told you about that.
A black immigrant and a Hispanic cop. The federal
government I pop you side your damn head.
That didn't stop Biden from taking the almost unprecedented step of having his own Solicitor General
and I pop you side your head.
Telling them that the Biden administration wanted them to rule in favor of the police.
And you shouldn't have got popped in the head.
Have black America's back, yeah, he meant that.
And poetic pop against the head.
Out there, this is what you voted for. Someone who will go to the mat to protect dirty cops, and who will do and say nothing while the white right attempts to do an
I'm gonna cry for this pop on the goddamn head.
Meaningful laws that we've had passed to try to make some aspects of this country.
I'm gonna delay this motherfucking pop on the head.
You didn't see Biden or the Democrats upset about this ruling at all.
Hell wrong with you?
Even though it attacks the executive branch of government, that's
I'm the devil's backbone.
Why is Biden not bothered by
this? I'm not taking no shit downstairs so you can lock both of us down there. You done lost your mind. Give me my money and let me out of here.
One of the anti-abortion laws that have been passed in Texas.
My money right now. I'm out of here.
Pittman wasn't bombastic.
Talking about both of y'all go downstairs. You look crazy and get 2 for the 1. Nah.
Now, this guy is racist trash who shouldn't be on the bench. But you see how you had 2 rulings by the exact same judge dealing with the exact same president. And all administration directly, the White House doesn't seem bothered by it. Yeah, because Pittman can be counted on to rule the right way on things that actually matter to the white left. The United States has never had a democracy a moment in its existence, and it has been soaked in racism from before its founding. When some white right-wing racist tries to tell you the spiel about how racism isn't a problem, your first question should always be, tell me the exact year when racism ended in America. And you can also tell me where in America racism is not practiced, where it doesn't exist. They can tell you when the Emancipation Proclamation was passed. They can tell you when the Civil War ended, the dates of the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act's passage. So it should be child's play for them to answer when racism ended, right? But they can't, because racism never has. And for each and every law that was allegedly passed to address the oppression that we face, there has always been a tsunami of white legislation to attack those laws and undermine them. See, that's a crucial point that's never mentioned when some Ben Shapiro or Thomas Sowell wannabe trots out the old, oh, but we dealt with racism a long time ago line. This country has been saying that for 150 years, and it's never been true even once. So when this judge claims that two wrongs don't make a right, he's ignoring that the wrong is the historical legislative oppression that we've had to contend with, and that he is a part of. I want you to remember this case going into the election. You're going to have a lot of bought and paid for Negroes online and on the air trying to tell you Biden's done so much for black people, and why if you let that mean old Trump get back into the White House, the Republicans are going to have a free hand and they're going to use it to roll back every alleged beneficial government program, initiative, and policy that's ever been passed. Well, tell me something. How is that any different than what Biden's doing right now? Remaining silent, as he has with this case, or worse, using the bully pulpit of the presidency to promote and advocate for legal rulings meant to target us, as he did with that.
Let me get my stuff out of this motherfucker.
How is any sort of alleged bad dealing from Trump different than what Biden's doing now? Now, this is not to say that Trump is better than Biden. He's not. And that's the point. You're not choosing the lesser of two evils. You're just choosing evil. You see Republicans across the board doing this culture war crap, all of this message legislation, and you don't see Democrats anywhere saying, wait a minute here, you're attacking the base of our party. You're attacking the black community here, so we're going to start passing laws specifically meant to target you. You don't see any sort of legislative reprisals or retaliation on their part, and that's deliberate. See, when it comes to abortion, they go to the mat. We're going to have statewide referendums in these red states. Oh, they become fearless about it. When it came to gay marriage, they reached across the aisle and said, well, we got to get that gay marriage law passed. But when it comes to black people, crickets. When someone says they've got your back, that also means they don't let people think they can just attack you. Everyone knows that these nuisance suits by these right-wing think tanks are actually attacks on the black community. Everyone knows that. But your Democrats, your so-called president, won't even call this out, and neither will these mouthpieces for him. And the people who get upset about these lawsuits, they tend to get upset about the wrong things. See, if Biden ever does decide to lower himself to commenting on this, what he and his little Negro sock puppets will do is say, well, look, Biden made this organization permanent. He made the agency permanent. And he put some money behind it, and see, he's doing this for you. I've already explained to you. They do very little for black people. This agency spends the bulk of its time and its resources making sure that everybody else is taken care of. They ignore black people by and large. So when they come up to you and say, oh, there's something, we're going to be lifting all boats. This is what they're talking about. Everybody else is going to be having a yacht, and you're going to be having a dinghy raft. If that, more than likely, you'll have a life preserver with a hole in it. That's what the actual lift all boats means. And this is the reason why you need the black media. Not just telling you what's happening, but also peeling back the layers so you can understand the reality of what of your interests is truly at stake. And while you have every right to be outraged about these legislative attacks, because we know that black people are the targets of them, just keep in mind, your Democratic leadership is not doing anything about it. Your Congressional Black Caucus, where the hell are they at to tell Biden, if you don't start moving against this, in fact, to tell Hakeem Jeffries, supposed to have a black man who's supposed to be the leader of the Democratic Party in Congress now, and he's not even saying boo about this. What does that tell you? As far as they're concerned, there's a
damn, what I'm gonna do?
Purpose is being served by allowing the Republicans to carry out these attacks.
Gonna do what you do.
Has become disobedient.
It's time to do the call of arms.
Pressure on white supremacy, so they're going to need the Republicans to go ahead and do the dirty work of pushing back against the niggers. That's what this is actually about. Well, believe it or not,
go ahead and do a call of arms.
Gets to have a say in this too. We have a ruling of our own that gets handed down when these kind of things happen. And when it comes to our rulings, there's no appeal. Good day. And be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Bo Eldridge McLean, Suleiman Alaji, Dee Tubman, Angela Merritt, and Stephen Twill.
In just 2 weeks, I lost 36 pounds. I have more energy, better mood. I feel attractive again. You can do it too. Just keep watching.
$69 Special Forces device turns men into beasts. It emulates over 50,000.
Humans are afraid of a lot of stuff, especially when you need resources. You want to protect yourself from gunshots. You want to protect yourself from the weather. Are you kind of
kind of
some
good.
folks are
I'm
even
taking my.
afraid to get on a plane? But do you know what is the largest killer of all people? It's not gunshots. It's not war. It's disease. And many people meet their demise from being sick. I went to medical school and graduated. And a joke that I used to always tell, one of these diseases I get to die from one day. Not so funny, right? But it's true. And one disease is right now hitting hard in Chicago. Nope, it's not gunshots. That disease is always there, right? But the one disease that's really got folks shook, measles. Now, measles is an upper respiratory disease, meaning that it's very easy for you to just like cough on somebody. Easy to transmit. For me to give you a really good definition, let's check out this clip.
Measles is an airborne that spreads easily through the coughs, sneeze of infected people.
Damn.
Measles can be serious and fatal for young children, as it can lead to pneumonia, blindness, diarrhea, swelling of the brain, and even death. It is the leading cause of death in children. Measles can spread fast in places where people are not vaccinated. Anyone who is not protected against measles, especially children, are at a risk of getting infected. This is the reason why it is of great importance to be up to date on vaccinations.
So guys, measles is a very old disease. And in fact, we believed in America, we eradicated it in about 2000, 2001. So how are we still dealing with measles now?
Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. John Labucas here. Dr. John, thank you for being here. So why? Why are we seeing these outbreaks?
Well, there are these pockets of people who are unimmunized, and that happens every few years for whatever reason, right? The way they get infected, the way the outbreak starts is they go outside the country generally, and where measles is more prevalent, and they get infected there, they come back here, and they start an outbreak, because remember, you can be infectious for 4 days before you even know you have, before you get that rash. Well, you can have some symptoms before you get that rash.
Yeah.
Before then, you may have some cold-like symptoms. They have a cold, no big deal. Then you get the rash. You've exposed a ton of people, and it's so infectious that if you are not immunized, there's about a 90% chance, if you're next to somebody who has measles, that you're going to come down with measles, and the virus can actually stay alive for a couple of hours in a room, even after the person's left home.
That's right. And most of you guys think about Chicago. It's a big city. They have many medical schools there. It's the third largest economy. Why are they having a problem with measles? Stop the show. Let's go back to the doctor when he said people usually get it on vacation and bring it back. But what about people coming into the country with the disease? Uh-oh, we wasn't thinking about that. But that is exactly what is happening. People are coming into the United States largely unvaccinated with these diseases. And it's okay if you get a vaccination for measles, but some people don't like vaccinations. And you can even still get it if you're unvaccinated, just like COVID. But let's get back to measles. Let's assume that you're a pregnant lady, right? And you're in a grocery store. You're unvaccinated. You come across some person, let's say a migrant, who coughs on you. Not only are you going to get measles, your newborn can get measles. And then, guess what? The birth weight could be very low, leading to all kind of crazy complications. And of course, you get like the runny nose, fatigue, red eyes, cough, and you get these really cool red spots and a rash around your face and white spots in your ears. It's a really painful thing to go through. But wait a minute. What migrant shelter is producing measles the most? Let's check it out.
Well, health officials detecting a second case of measles right here in Chicago, and it is traced to a migrant shelter in Pilsen. Have you been suffering from the after effects of a car crash? The good news is you're still entitled to a fine. Fox 32's Joni Lum reports medical teams were sent to determine if this disease has spread. 2 measles cases on 2 sides of the city. Health officials identified one is a child living at a shelter in Pilsen for new arrivals. Health officials are there to vaccinate the other residents. There was a police presence outside the shelter at Halstead and Cermak. Residents are not allowed to leave unless they are vaccinated for measles as health teams investigate. 25th Ward Alderman Byron Siccho Lopez said in a statement that he visited the shelter Tuesday. 1,876 people live there, including 95 toddlers between the ages of 1 and 2.
Now let's get back to the
the
whole
word.
thing. Pilsen is where it's at. I don't know where Pilsen is in Chicago, but I do know this. It's a real big safety concern for people in the black community, especially since some of the migrant shelters have been put into where African Americans are living. Not only that, I'm pretty sure that some of the migrants could be trying to get into school. Some of them could be carrying that, and that could be a big situation from those people going to school. And also, it has to be a big stress on public health department in Chicago. Now let's talk about the migrants also being evicted. That's another big thing. Brandon Johnson is giving the migrants like 60 days to get put out, unless they have a special circumstance. Well, if you don't test positive for measles and you're getting put out, well, at least if you were just there, maybe you might have some.
The devil's backbone has arrived.
No, put them out in the street.
I'm gonna put in this work. Do what I do. Okay.
It's all bad. Again, African Americans are all Americans, but our folks in the black community is a danger to our people. We are a big part of the Chicago-based community, working in every sector of the city. But now, the taxpayers' money, which should be used to do things like things in the community, redeveloping housing, even helping transportation, whatever would make Chicago better, $300 million of that is going to the migrant crisis. And now, you're going to have more stress because of the diseases that are coming in from outside the United States, even creating a possibility for an epidemic. And we just got over an epidemic, really a pandemic, with COVID. And can we hear round two? You definitely don't want measles back in the country. And this is what people do.
All right, let's put in this work.
Being a first world or developed country, we kind of believe that we got it all figured out. And for the most part, the United States has many things figured out. But when you're letting people come across the border in buses and they're not being vaccinated, whatever they're coming in with, they're bringing in here with, and some people are not vaccinated. So that creates a big public health concern. So it's not only a resource thing, a tax thing. We're not spending this money on the city of Chicago thing. Or to be even more concrete, it was a liberal with my message. We're not investing into the black Chicagoan experience, helping them get better. Now we gotta worry about, wear a mask, or let's not go outside because measles is out there, don't want you to get sick. And yes, measles can kill kids. It can kill kids. So, what are we gonna do about this? I don't know. I'll tell you where I'm staying. I'm not gonna be in Chicago no time soon. That's for sure. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shirley Jackson, back at it again. This episode here on King.
I made over $10 million on Amazon. If I lost it all and had to rebuild in today's AI age, here's exactly what I would do. First, I would use AI to find popular products on Alibaba that could buy for a few cents. Then I would sell the same thing on Amazon for a few dollars, and I'll do this.
Let's go.
180,000 people have come to New York City seeking asylum, but although the city initially promised to take care of everybody, some officials are now having second thoughts about that decision for some reason.
A body cam video just released of the attack of two NYPD officers near Times Square. Mayor Adams is taking a look at the city's sanctuary laws to address the migrant crisis. He's focused on crime and public safety.
We can't have a small number of migrants and asylum seekers hide under the law that there's nothing you can do about it.
This network of thieves predominantly live in the migrant shelter system. They use social media platforms to organize and coordinate their thefts.
The increase in crimes committed by migrants has some wondering if bills signed into law that prevent the NYPD from cooperating with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement should be reconsidered.
These sanctuary city policies are ridiculous. They're impeding our law enforcement, our officials, and by consequence, they're making all of us less safe.
So a bunch of strange things are happening with the asylum crisis here in the city.
which are causing the city's leaders to rethink whether or not New York should remain a sanctuary for immigrants who may face discrimination. And there have been several high-profile attacks on police. And for the first time in a long time, that's got people asking, what are we doing? But even though some officials are changing their mind over this, nobody's talking about how the city's handling of this crisis may have made things worse and may be leading to the exploitation of the very same people it's supposed to be helping.
We can't have these small number of migrants and asylum seekers hide under the law that there's nothing you can do about it because you cannot tell ICE.
Speaker Adams says. So Mayor Adams, a 22-year former NYPD veteran, coming out hard against sanctuary status. But Mayor Adams has two big problems. And the first of those is that criminals are coming here specifically because it allows them to hide in plain sight. But the second problem's even worse.
We are not considering laws, changes to laws. These laws have been in effect for decades.
New York City Council Speaker.
So the city council firing back, saying that we shouldn't change the sanctuary city laws because they're very old and they've been around for a long time, and that's the sign that they should be with us forever. Can you imagine if we applied that logic to every law America had ever had? But the city council speaker then goes on to make a point that sounds radical. However, hidden underneath it is the real problem New York is facing.
People are penned up in Hercs, in other places.
No problem. You keep fighting hard. Abigail.
Humanitarian emergency relief centers. We're talking a lot of beds and a big tent somewhere. But she's right, there's nothing humane about these places. The bathrooms are located in trailers parked underneath a separate tent outside. But the problem is New York's out of money, and these are the only housing solution the city can afford. And the point that the city council is missing, and that nobody else is talking about, is that New York City's solutions to the problems that it's facing might be making all of the worse. Which means the city council's right. As controversial as sanctuary city laws are, they are not New York City's real problem right now. No, critics say the real problem is New York City's right to shelter rules, which guarantee everyone who comes here a free place to stay, because those rules are exploitation for the very people they're supposed to help. Critics say those rules are why homelessness is increasing, and why gang activity is increasing along with it, and why many migrants and asylum seekers are trapped in an endless cycle of poverty they can never escape from. And that happens to everyone because everyone who comes here for a spot in a shelter gets kicked out because they're maxed out.
Migrants, officials say, are living illegally in a two-story building on Kingsbridge Road. Building inspectors, along with the FDNY, discovering beds crammed together in the sewer and that just came out of.
So this is the first of many different ways asylum seekers are exploited by the city and the migrant industrial complex. But the fact that people who get kicked out of a shelter and can't get back in have to pay money to live in a dangerous basement that doesn't have adequate fire safety measures in place, people's lives are in danger. Also, someone can break the law and make $300 a month per person. As we'll soon see, there are frustrating ways the asylum seekers are being exploited, because if you come to New York City to take advantage of right to shelter, you will be forced into the criminal underworld, or at least confronted by it very soon after you arrive. And what's worse is it's been revealed gang leaders are starting to recruit in the city's shelters. And that's not the only controversial way the city may be eating migrants, and that's because progressive local organizations that are sympathetic to abused criminals are supporting them financially.
Since being indicted on second-degree assault last week, he was held on $15,000 bail for a second time. The pastor previously paid the bail. More than a dozen immigration advocates showed up to support Freedom Tuesday.
So this particular court case
Oh, he hit my horse.
reveals a lot about where the opposition to changing many of New York City's laws is really
What you hold?
attack on police officers last month. Plus, he had 2 other pending cases and was deemed a flight risk. But a local church paid
My homegirl gonna need somebody back here.
so that he could go free. And this place says it's a sanctuary church. On top of that, polling shows most New Yorkers support right to shelter. What critics say they don't
Can't get over
understand
there.
is that by offering asylum seekers right to shelter, they're inviting vulnerable people into a system that is set up to ruin their lives. And the problem is people experience stuff immediately after they move in.
Go get him, dog.
So here we are on one of the city's emergency shelters, and even though it's a former luxury hotel and one of the better establishments, moving into this place isn't going to do you any favors. And that's because everyone who moves in ends up getting a
Did I do that? Where you think you're going? I'm gonna put the knife on your ass. Shut your ass up, bitch.
And nobody's talking about the real reasons why this system is not sustainable. First of all, the mayor says he needs
bitch.
And of course, whenever the city moves someone out of the shelter, they claim it as a victory. That
Oh, my
person has
damn
now
hat.
learned to
Kick up my damn
self-sustain.
hat.
But the reality is that the city doesn't keep track of what happens to people after they leave. They could be anywhere, and critics say the fate that befalls someone who gets kicked out, it puts them in a terrible position. This article says that half the families who get kicked out never end up coming back to the shelter system. And that's especially scary when you consider that over 180,000 have come here, but only 65,000 remain in the city's shelters. That's 80,000 people who are gone, and nobody knows where they are. But before we get into the scary reality of what happens to those who leave the shelters, consider the immense challenges that people living in the shelters face. They're in a new country where they don't speak the language, and they don't have approval to work legally. How does that person leave and provide for themselves? After they move out of the shelter, they're still going to be relying on somebody else to pay for everything, and to a lot of folks, a government or a gang member. Or worse, they themselves end up moving into a life of crime.
Police say a ringleader of the group has been recruiting migrants who recently arrived in the city to do his dirty work.
Using stolen mopeds to ride up behind innocent New Yorkers to steal their cell phones. So this gang member, he was running an operation that involved people using mopeds to snatch handbags and phones from unsuspecting New Yorkers all over town. And not only did he have operations in New York and in Miami, apparently many of those he recruited had residences in the New York City shelter system. And when arrested, the leader of this gang said that the problem with organized crime is much bigger than him. And he's right about that, because the shelter system itself gave him an unlimited number of people he could approach to recruit into his operation, because it's trapping people, and so is he. And although many asylum seekers just want a better life after becoming trapped in the shelters, to many, crime seems like the only way out. And that's why the next person on our list was able to illegally exploit so many of the people that were living in buildings just like this. So this might not look like much, but it's an abandoned storefront. There are thousands of these throughout the city, and they're part of the problem too. Because recently, criminals have been using these abandoned facilities as unofficial shelters. They throw down a bunch of beds in an old restaurant or an old furniture store, and then start charging people to live inside these illegal dwellings. And remember, the city has a missing, vanishing population of around 100,000 people. That's a massive illegal market for housing. The gang leader, for example, he had a network of illegal apartments all over town that he was letting people stay in as long as they would join his gang and commit crime so that he could earn money and afford the place where they live. And in the shelters, you've got many people who are young, they're idle, they can't work, they can't earn a living, and he's saying, hey, just work for me for a little bit, and then you can leave and go live a normal life afterwards. And at best, the people who end up leaving the shelter system are looking at a very long road to legal self-sufficiency, if they can even work for a living. This article mentions that many asylum seekers illegally work under the table, and that's probably not a high enough paying endeavor for someone to afford New York City rent. After all, rents here are some of the highest in the entire country, recently peaking at $5,600 a month, which is why some people were found sleeping in cars outside of the very shelters they were evicted from. And that's why to many, living in an illegal storefront that could be dangerous is their best option.
He's been asked to stay out until city orders to vacate are completed, but Ibo Sar is giving us a look through the front glass and into what housing dozens of migrants over the last several months looked like. He says it's...
So the person running this operation, he was making tens of thousands of illegal dollars a month. And this is what these abandoned commercial spaces are like. They're very bare bones, there's pipes, and these places do not have adequate fire systems at all. But if you're a criminal and you know of one of these that's empty and hidden, there's gonna be a temptation to fill it up with a bunch of beds, especially if people are asking you if you know of a place to stay. One of his shelters had enough beds in it for 74 people to call it their residence. And it's frightening to imagine the tragic loss that would have occurred had there been a fire, because everyone there was reportedly charging their e-bike batteries at once.
And then the same kind of call came from a childhood friend.
So I said, okay, you know what? I'll find him a space to give them a bed with my cousin. So this is how we started.
First, it's just a relative asking if you know of an extra place to put a bed. Then word spreads, everyone's asking you the same question, with some people even offering to start paying you. And in a city with a lot of commercial vacancies,
see, I find it hard to believe the landlords weren't in on these schemes as well. Look at this little place. Ground floor, lots of space in the back away from the windows. Plus, it's got the security gate. You'd probably keep that closed at all times. And then you could use the side entrance through the apartment building to get in. Apparently, the mastermind was charging $300 a person. He had 74 beds in one location, 40-something beds in another location, which is like over $30,000 a month in income between the two establishments.
Next, he turned to a space he rents in Queens.
I'm willing to take the consequences.
Saar says he's doing it to help his people during the migrant surge that has put pressure on city resources.
And you know something? There's no way this one guy that they caught with 2 places is the only one in New York using these empty spaces for this purpose. And I'm not saying he's innocent, but the city's right to shelter system enabled all this. It brought thousands of people here and then made them homeless, quickly forcing them into this guy's apartments. And remember, these aren't people who can legally work. $300 a month was probably all the money that they had. And even if they do have work authorization, we're probably not talking about employment at Goldman Sachs. Because the sad reality is that many of these folks have come here with an incredibly limited skill set that is further limited by language barriers and education. And the thing nobody's talking about is even though the invitation to come to New York, seek asylum, and get a place to stay is done in the name of compassion, the results aren't anything you'd wish on your worst enemy. So the real issue for New York City is that a system of exploitation exists, not because we don't want to do the right thing for people that are here and need our help. It's because it's impossible to do the right thing for an unlimited period of time for an unlimited number of people, according to critics. Advocates of right to shelter rightly point out that it does keep people from living on the streets, but it doesn't help people get apartments of their own. And after 30 days, people wind up on the street if they're a
One that's smooth.
which means we're essentially talking about a Band-Aid type solution here. It solves the problem initially, but then it falls off, and the
get my girl way up front though.
healed yet. And critics say the city's current policies do not put people on a path to success or the American dream. City council's aware of this. That's why they don't care if sanctuary city policies remain. And even they understand that the system in place is failing the very people it's supposed to protect, and it also may be exploiting them with the help of the local government. And that's because the city is now teaming up with some of the worst landlords in town to put shelters in unsafe, dangerous locations, and they're doing it while working with non-profits who then turn around and lease properties from those landlords under the guise of humanitarian aid. And it's recently been exposed that a landlord with a long history of property violations recently purchased a property that the city then suddenly agreed to allow to become a shelter after the prior owners tried to turn that building into apartments and were denied more than 20 years ago. The property sits on a toxic site called New York's Gowanus Canal, which may be dangerous because of the gases and pollution in that environment, but it turns out the landlord that bought this place, their business model is to buy properties that then immediately get turned into shelters. I wonder how that works. I wonder which city employees they have on their payroll. Because controversially, the city went around their own laws to greenlight this project, saying that it's an emergency situation because of the asylum crisis, and since a non-profit is going to operate the system, safety doesn't really matter, even though the city is deeming these commercial spaces completely unsafe. This is happening all over town, not just in this building with others, and it all reeks of corruption and scandal. And it's built on the backs of people who've come here with absolutely nothing. On top of that, it's been revealed that when the city rents hotel rooms, they overpay by about half. And they're even turning bankrupt buildings that are owned by companies who are about to go out of business into shelters, none of which could ever legally be considered housing. And that's got many people suggesting that the asylum crisis isn't designed to benefit the very people it's named after. In fact, the asylum seekers are the losers here. First, they're exploited by cartels to get into the country in the first place. Then a bus company makes money bringing them to New York. Then the owners of a former luxury hotel make money because it's being used as a shelter. Then people get a prepaid debit card that is operated by a company that gets a fee based on how much money is given out. And then after these poor folks are kicked out of the shelters, they're recruited by gang members so they work illegally. And then they use that money to pay for an illegal bed in a basement somewhere. Or worse, they get completely swept into the criminal underworld and live as fugitives in this new country. And what's truly frightening is that 80% of New Yorkers are in favor of right to shelter. Probably because no one here is willing to have conversations about what this is ultimately leading to. Look, I get it. America's a great country. There are so many blessings for the people who live here. And to us, myself as a parent, the idea of starving kids, that's a terrible idea. But critics are saying that the halfway solutions employed by New York are bad for just about everyone. And the revolving door asylum industrial complex that New York has created right here isn't helping those very same people. Instead, it's just benefiting well-connected business owners and city officials at the expense of children. And it's sold to local New Yorkers that, hey, we're making a difference. Now, there's nothing wrong with the idea of helping people, but do you think this is being used as a way for big companies to just help themselves? And is the city doing the right thing by reevaluating things like sanctuary status? Let me know. I will see you in the next video.
Wash the dishes like a Bosch. With perfect drying results, even on flameless. From Bosch.
How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim or Sim Naya, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. Today we'll be talking something very important. But before we get into this video, I am going to say that they actually think that we are crazy, because all the time when we talk about some certain things going on in Black community, the medical appetite, and so many things going on, the racism in medical, in medical and all that, they think we're crazy. But this Jewish doctor actually came out to say that if you do not align with his values, or if you are not a Zionist or something, that he is going to watch you. Like if you come for a surgery in his own hospital, you probably ain't gonna make it, you know. And when we talk about some certain things, they think we're at the crazy ones, that we don't know what we're saying. They tell us to stop talking about it. When you stop talking about it, you're gonna go away, but it's not going away. I have a lot of Black people been saying this for years, and a lot of people do not believe it. But I am okay. I am fine that some people are already started saying what we've been talking about when it comes to medical rate decision that is going on all over and all that. But you know what? I don't think. I am kind of surprised that this man is still practicing, because if someone like this can come up to say something like this, I think his license should be taken away from him, because nobody is safe with him. Let's get into this video.
I don't want a patient who doesn't align with my values, because in general it's a relationship, and if you don't align, and it's not going to be a good outcome. No matter how good my surgery is, it may not, it's just not going to work.
Let me keep it all the way funky with you. When I go to the doctor, whether it's a dentist, optometrist, or I'm getting bladder surgery, I'm requesting or seeking out a Black healthcare provider. And that's just what it is, what it has been, and what it's always going to be. I could spend hours unpacking how this surgeon just said if you aren't a Zionist, the results of your surgery by my hands are TBD. I've heard people call Black people dramatic for being afraid, weary, skeptical of doctors, hospitals, surgeons, the healthcare system as a whole, but I guarantee you there are thousands more like him.
I don't want a patient who doesn't align with my values, because
I wanted to come into this. I used to be a healthcare worker. I was licensed, but I retired. And from listening to that stitch, and even the commentator that was saying that he stick by his own people and do not want to deal with people like him because he knows there's a million of them, I'm going to tell you a story, and please pay attention to it. When I used to work at this institution, it was predominantly urban, okay? Talking about the clientele, the patients that were coming in there. And I remember this incident, and that kind of turned my face on dealing with people like that particular doctor, or any doctor that is not my own, okay? Some of them are very racist, people that's like that doctor. The new and the old generation of those type of doctors, they always want to be in that field, but they don't know how to deal with the general public, and that's including minorities. I remember one time, it was an emergency, and we had to go into the OR. I had to do a procedure with that same doctor, but he was a resident at the time. The attendant was coming in, and the attendant was just as worse than them because he used to allow them to say anything they want to do and whatever. So we was in a group of nurses. There was a small amount of them that were Filipino, and there was a large group of people that was black, but it was mostly West Indian. And I think I was the only black American there, but come from West Indian descendant. A patient came in as a stat patient. It was a gunshot victim. And it was a young child. And apparently, what we heard from the story, instead of the doctor finding out exactly what happened, he comes down with his colleague right in front of the child who was under anesthesia. And he said, I don't understand why we're going to sit there and stitch him back up, but he's going to go on the street and sell the product again. And he said it so loud in front of everybody, and the resident was standing there, the attendant was standing there, and he did not correct him. I felt so sorry for that child because I want to know if he's going to really operate on this child properly. Okay? Then he said, oh, they never have insurance. He was referring us as black people never had insurance. And he was from that group. Okay? They're the first to say that we're anti-Semitic, but they're racist as hell. So when I heard everything that he said, and it was a whole bunch of us, the rest of the group kind of just like didn't really say anything. They just looked upon each other. Us in a collective.
Our flow is Floridian down to the source. It's in who we are, what we do, and what we drink. 100% natural, just like our spring water. Zephyr Hills. This is how we flow.
Are you interested in starting your own basic YouTube automation channel, but all people do is tell you to go to freaking Fiverr and Upwork and hire people to make rain sound videos, motivation videos, and all this other useless crap that just doesn't work? And all you want is someone to level with you and show you what you actually need to do to build a...
We wrote him up. We wrote all of them up. When it went to Central, they didn't do anything about it. We took it to the higher up. And because it's been ongoing, another time, there was a lady, elderly lady. She was going for a procedure. And it looked like she was new to the country, so she didn't understand English. And every time when I used to look in the computer and see whatever they needed to do for the client, they would say alter status, status, meaning that the person has a mental problem. And I noticed they were doing that to a lot of minorities, that same group. So one day I asked the doctor, what is the sense of you coming to a level 1 trauma hospital that's minority and it's a city owned, and you're seeing people that look like us? Some of them come from different culture, but you guys are always saying something illiterate and saying something ignorant that you don't have no type of filter. So I said, there's something that's called do no harm. He got mad and he wrote me up and I wrote him up because what he said. And then also he wrote up the lady and trying to say that she's crazy. I said, the lady's not crazy. She doesn't understand English. I said, English is our second language, just like you have a second language. Anyway, back to the story. That young man was shot because he was coming from the South and he was graduating from college and he went to see his grandmother and it was a holiday. So he was at the front porch and apparently bullets were shooting all over the place because they had a street, they had like a street party, a block party. And it landed him and he nearly died. But luckily he reached to the hospital as a destination. And as he did, they were able to recover him. So when they started to check his background and found out he was a straight A student, and it was his freshman year in college, and how he had straight A's, and he was studying to become a doctor. Yeah, all of a sudden, they kept their mouths shut. Because I took them all the way to the hearing. I did not care. And I said to them, you mustn't do no harm. And every time when they saw me, they always looked at me and never said anything. But when their people come to the hospital, half of the time, they don't even pay the hospital bill. And we have to give them the same treatment. And I believe in treating all patients when I used to be a civil servant in the health field. I'm now retired. I retired a long time ago, but I used to see how the way they used to be offensive every time when they were around people like our color. And I wanted to know why they became doctors. Even when they do dentistry too. They have a tendency of overcharging people, especially when they don't have a co-payment. I have interacted with multiple of them. So I said to myself, are you here to deal with patients for the general pop, or you just there to make money? And when they make a mistake, they want you to have their back. I never, okay? Because I believe that patients come first, okay? Because they are the ones, if you are a nurse, you have to be 10 toes standing before them. Because they used to lie on nurses and lie on techs, especially when they want to cover up themselves. And this is not a hate thing. This is not anti-bullying. This is not. If you come in the hospital environment and you see how some of them treat patients, especially if you go to a certain hospital that's in Long Island, they look at you sideways. They want to know what you're here for. Like, oh, you're there to visit them. And they take forever to diagnose you. Okay? That's why a lot of people are skeptical of being around in the hospital because of them. Because some of them are very racist. From my personal experience, they're very racist. And there's a lesson to learn. Because you hear how the way he was talking on that podcast, because there's a lot of them like that. And I'm glad that this gentleman had brought that topic up. I've been meaning to tell that topic up many, many times. When you work with them, they think that you're supposed to be their secretary. And they like to downgrade you. Yes. And they're very rude. But they always come into the urban place to do their practice. Okay? But when you go to their sites, they don't want to tend to you. They only want to tend to their own. I find some of them to be the most racist people ever. But they're the first ones that will come and say, no, you're racist. And you're anti-this. But you see how the way they act in the hospitals, especially in the urban hospital, and even hospitals that's affiliated with them.
That's right.
This is all I got from this, and I am still in shock because these people are very, very so people are going.
Wow. Let's go.
Tonight on the Black Channel. You thought you knew the new black media. Well, welcome to the new black media. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic.
Unadulterated. And uncompromising. I'm uncompromising. Greetings!
Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black stuff. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college university of higher education and learning in
From the Cosmo.
You are, of course, welcome
to join us. And join us you may.
And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, boy, we have a lot of ground to cover. We sure do. But before we do, I have something I want to play for you all. I have something I want for you to hear. Because we have a special guest in the building with us here tonight. Somebody I've been waiting to talk to here for a minute. I want you all to go ahead and watch this first.
Every time somebody go to talking about the Super Bowl, I say, hey, did you see that little sign that said Eve after dark? And then I give them a little lightweight, little history lesson.
Hello to my little friend.
That was the hottest club right there on Avalon. People don't realize how important Eve after dark was to kind of how many careers got started there, whether it was Dr. Dre, D.L. Hughley, Robin Harris.
Eve After Dark is like a hood version of what Club 54 was in New York.
Ole! Ole! Get down, dog. Get down.
Finest girls in the city. Gardena, Compton, L.A. All the cats, it all comes to the club.
I was taken under the wing of the world-class wrecking crew. Grandmaster Lines of the world-class wrecking crew. Don't get enough credit for what he did to spark this too. He the first one that gave Dre a DJ time.
I don't know how Dre ended up on my turntables. And he had people dancing to this weird mix. One record was at 100 and some odd BPMs. The other one was like 64. So people don't know whether to dance fast or slow dance, but the mix sound good.
It was a lifesaver because, you know, in those days, there was a lot of stuff going around in the city. We had it really hard. So the Eve After Dark was that safe haven that we could go and just have fun and not remember or know anything that might have been
Brothers and sisters, I'm very glad and very honored here to invite to the program here tonight Mr. Alonzo Williams. Welcome to the Black Channel Brothers. Good to be able to speak with you here again.
Oh shit! Can I get one of the motherfuckers? They came out.
Well, sir, first of all, for everybody who doesn't know
Oh shit! Oh
I
fuck!
went to go talk to
play so
Alonzo
bad.
4 years ago for my upcoming documentary 8 a.m. 4 years ago. Little did I know, at the same time I'm talking to him, the whole world was about to shut down for 3 or 4 years. So I talked to him and everything, and it was a very enlightening conversation. I can't wait for you all to see what happens with it. I put out the trailer here for 8 a.m. Too much there, but you all had a rival.
In the House, we said no. I'm only bringing this, pulling back the layer, y'all, because you asked the question, and it's the right question to be asked. That when we make the statement that, and a principal one at that, that nah, you owe me, I don't owe you. Nobody is over here explaining from members of Congress or from Donald Trump why it is that they hold the position that they hold.
Okay, did Andrew talk like this when he was running for office in Florida? What? Andrew, where were you to talk like this when you were running for office in Florida? That'd be very interesting if you would, because understand something, nobody is supposed to like the damn IRS, Andrew. You know, your Zaddy Boo things who took you out on that yacht in those famous pictures you got out there, your Zaddy Boo thing don't like the IRS. That's why we're in Florida, where you don't have to pay a state income tax. You don't like taxes either, Andrew. Nobody likes taxes.
And now I'm at the meeting, and I'm sorry. And there's enough of love for me to say. I want to be where you are. Oh.
Alright, dog. Damn, I played bad. I'm still mad at that. I could at least made it to number 10 on that one. I made the 6 easy. Ah, damn. What I was thinking. Thinking.
In 1980, which of course should have been changed a long time ago.
So they bringing them in. You wonder where the money coming from? They taking it. The COVID fund that was here, that money. You talking about all the pro housing programs. So when people pay rents, all the rental programs, that money, all the programs that we have in the city of Chicago, they are bankrupting us. They are taking from all of these programs that we have, and they're taking the money and they're funding the migrants. Our taxpayers, we've already paid $32 million out of our.
I mustn't forget to reload my cane. Anyone would think you don't have any work to do. Oh.
Alright, let's see what old boy got down here for me.
We have a batch ready to go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Allons-y.
Hello, Z. 30 bird, that's it? Oh, okay, I'll go to Pete.
I was wondering when you were going to get here. This is a good batch, of course. They are all good batches, but this one is superior, eh? I have found a buyer who will appreciate it. And most important, they will pay for it too. Now, all you have to do is to be attentif, eh? Seigneur, ayez pitié.
Alright. Alright. Let's go get this money. They got me turning left. Ah, bitch. I get. Oh, I'm turning right today. Alright. I don't like turning left. I'm a Nitsy fighter. Might as well deal with them right now. Them fuckers. Gonna try to stop our money. Shit. Damn. I ain't have nothing, huh? I ain't eat no meat. I just gonna run up on them like they ain't nothing. Had to get y'all off the map early. Y'all gonna try to get my money next week. I'm gonna stop that shit right there. Yeah. Alright, Rufus and Betsy. Let's get on out of here. I already handled them back there. They ain't gonna be stopping us no more. Nah. Let's get up out of here. Let's get up out of here. Let's get up out of here. Get this money. You know it. Best mooch in town. Downtown. That's what I'm talking about. I need all that.
All right, y'all mount up.
Alright. Let's get it cracking. Alright, Blackie.
Let's keep an eye on these goods. Liable to walk off.
Alright. That's right, ride out. Ride out. Ride dog. I'm just sniping their horse. Come on, ride dog. Can't catch us without no horse. Ride dog. Shit right.
We're gonna bleed to death out here.
That's right. All right. Let's go, let's go. They coming.
Damn it! Again!
Come on. Come on. Let's see if you can wear my boot. Damn. Let's retry. Alright. Boy, they was coming. I feel this bitch up. No, we ain't bleeding to death this time, man. I'm bleeding to death this time. Right, old man. Ah, damn. Oh, shit. Oh, that bitch, dog. Push that bitch. Oh, shit. I ran that bitch off the motherfucker. Dang, it still got popped. I do that. Come on now. You're gonna bleed to death out here. Take the knife. Damn horses. Shoot him down!
more. Trouble just showed up. Ah, come on! Again? You'll be cold dead soon. Yes, looking good. Damn it!
Howdy. Shit, we didn't call hell coming to this motherfucker. Woo.
Looking at wagon, I'd say you folks had an eventful journey.
Yes, we had. We here now. That's all that matters.
Alright, well, all the best now. I'll see you next time.
Alright, buddy. God damn. Alright.